The sirens weren't even close yet, but I could already see their reflection. Pulsing off the chrome of my car, the car Karen was still trying to open with a key that wasn't even cut for this model. She jabbed it again, metal scraping metal, and every screech cut sharper than the winter air rolling off the hillside. Her hand trembled, not with fear, but with the furious desperation of someone who'd rather break reality than admit they're wrong. Operator, he's standing right. Here he followed me again. She shrieked at the 911 dispatcher, and this key won't work. My HOA master key should open all resident vehicles. He's tampered with the lock. Get someone here now. I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't even adjust my jacket. I just watched her, because the moment I took one step toward her, she'd scream louder. I'd already seen her do it today. Wasn't even her best performance. She kept stabbing the key into the lock, wrists twisting, knuckles going white. Every time she failed, she looked up at me as if I were the one committing the crime. Voice cracked as she yelled at the dispatcher again. And he's filming me. Make sure the officers know he's unstable. He's the one causing problems in this neighborhood. He's been stalking us all month. I wasn't filming her. Phone wasn't even in my hand. But she didn't care what was true. The wind shifted. Somewhere behind us, a gate banged shut, loose hinge. My mental note whispered. I notice things like that. Always had. People assume it's instinct, but it's training. Years of it, but she didn't notice the gate. She didn't notice the neighbor standing across the street. She didn't notice anything except the lock that refused to obey her. She bent toward it again, squinting, muttering, "Why isn't this working?" It worked before. Those 3 words hit me harder than any of her screaming. It worked before. I didn't show it, but that sentence lodged somewhere cold behind my ribs, because I knew what she meant, if she really said it out loud. She just admitted more than she realized. The distant sirens grew louder. Another neighbor stepped out onto their porch. Karen spun and shouted at them, "Stay inside. There is an active situation. HOA authority. Evacuate your doorway." Ignored her. Everyone ignored her these days. Everyone except the police, she kept. Weaponizing like a personal security force, she jabbed the key again. Open, open. It didn't. Her face twisted into something between rage and panic, and she turned back. To me, eyes so narrow, you could barely see the whites. You switched cars. Didn't you? You switched them. This isn't your assigned vehicle. Assigned. As if I were her tenant. As if I reported to her. Karen, I said quietly, that's not your key. And this isn't your property. She pressed the phone harder. To her ear, he's threatening me. He's threatening me right now. Write that down. I didn't threaten you. You don't get to say what a threat is, she screamed. The neighbor on the porch snorted. Karen snapped toward them. I will fine you for that. Fines double if you laugh in my presence. And because the universe has a sense of humor, the neighbor laughed harder. Karen spun back to me. I'm done with this. Done, she rattled. The key? HOA regulations allow the board to access all community vehicles for emergency inspection. Failure to comply means immediate removal. This is my jurisdiction. It's not, it is. She barked so loudly my left ear rang. And when the police get here, they will remove you from this neighborhood. I've already filed the paperwork. You're not approved. This, she jabbed the key again, is how we check for compliance. The key clinked uselessly. Wasn't even hitting the right angle anymore. It'd thrown her aim off. Karen said softly, you really shouldn't have done that. She froze. Her eyebrows twitched up. Done what? Today of all days, I murmured, watching. Her chest rise and fall like she'd been sprinting. You shouldn't have tried that today. A flicker of uncertainty flashed across her face. The first police cruiser turned the corner. Its headlights washed over us, bright and unforgiving. Karen straightened instantly, shoulders snapping back like a puppet being yanked. Upright, she lifted her chin high, clutched the master key to her chest, and stepped forward as if she were the one calling the shots. They're here, she said, breathless with triumph. This ends now. It didn't end. It only spiraled deeper. The cruiser door swung open, and Officer Ramirez stepped out. Good cop, young, eager to trusting of callers. He had no idea what he was walking into. His eyes immediately snapped toward me. Karen sprinted toward him. Officer, officer. That man, she jabbed a finger at me so violently, her elbow cracked, attempted to access my vehicle, threatened me, followed me, and is refusing to leave the neighborhood. Ramirez looked at me. Sir, I'm going to need you to step forward. I didn't move. Not because I was resisting, but because every part of me needed to stay steady. That was the only way this didn't go further off the rails. Karen cut in. Don't approach him alone. He's dangerous. He has a weapon. I raised an eyebrow. A weapon. You always do, she snapped. Ramirez hesitated. Sir, hands where I can see them, please. I lifted my hands slowly. Officer, I haven't touched her. I haven't touched anything except my own car. Karen shoved past Ramirez and jabbed the key into the lock again to demonstrate her claim. See, he damaged it. His key opened cars just fine before he moved in. I've tested it. The neighbor on the porch coughed loudly. Tested it on whose cars, Karen? She spun. Get inside your home. The second cruiser pulled up, and a third. Something unspoken rippled across the block. Garage lights flipped. On blinds shifted. More neighbors peered out. This was becoming a scene. Ramirez motioned me forward again. Sir, we need to speak with you away from the vehicle. Karen cut him off. No, handcuff him first. He'll run. Or worse. Do what he did last time. Last time, I felt the words sliced deeper than they should have. Ramirez frowned. Last time? Karen's mouth hung open for one fraction of a second too long. She hadn't meant to say it. Ramirez turned toward her. Ma'am, what exactly happened? Last time, she stammered. He knows what he did. I met Ramirez's eyes. I've never touched this woman. I've never accessed her property. Karen stepped back, blinking rapidly, mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. She wasn't unraveling. She was panicking. Huge difference, officer, she said, voice wobbling. Can't we skip this? Can't we? We just issue the removal order? I already filed the form. It went through. The HOA board approved it. The board, Ramirez repeated. Which board? Only 2 board members remain after the fraud investigation. Karen flinched as if someone had touched an open wound. Her hand closed around the key so tightly the ridges dug into her skin. Ramirez's radio crackled. Be advised. Subject is claiming HOA jurisdiction over vehicles. Inform responding units this might be related to last month's break-ins. Karen's jaw dropped. What break-ins? Don't say that on the radio. They'll think no. That's not related? But everyone heard her panic. 2 officers slowed their walk. A third quietly pressed the body cam button until it beeped. Karen looked around, eyes darting wildly, and she pointed at me like she was performing an exorcism. His trespassing. Him. I took a breath, slow, controlled. Officer. Ramirez, I said quietly. Before any more assumptions are made, Karen lunged forward. Actually lunged. She tried to block my words with sheer volume. Don't listen to him. Oh, he doesn't belong here. He doesn't even live here. The neighbor across the street called out, He moved in 3 months ago, Karen. You know that. Out. You left a welcome basket, and then fined him for moving the welcome basket inside without a permit. Karen screamed, You weren't supposed to see that. Another neighbor chimed in. We all saw it. Porch light flicked on. A dog barked. Curtain twitched. Karen's face flooded with color. Blotchy red climbing up her neck. I could feel something shifting in the air, that tiny crack in her confidence growing wider, deeper. Then Ramirez stepped toward her. Ma'am, please hand over the key. Her eyes went round. No, ma'am, no, she shouted, stepping back. It's mine and the board's. Karen, I said quietly, that's not a master key. Yes, IT is. She raised it like a trophy, gripping. It's so hard her wrist trembled. This key opens every mailbox, every storage shed. Every Ramirez's head snapped to me. His partner, Officer Keene, actually inhaled sharply, because she'd just admitted something. Something she absolutely should not have said. Not here. Not in front of officers. Not with body cams rolling. Karen realized it a half-second too late. I mean, she stumbled backward again. It's HOA property designated access tool legal under Section 12. It's just for emergency inspections, Karen, the porch neighbor said. That's literally a universal lockpick. Karen's face drained of color and flushed even darker red. It's not. It's a standard compliance key. Ramirez held out his hand again. Give me the key. No. Karen, no. Her voice cracked, stuttering between fear and fury. You don't understand? He's dangerous. He's manipulating you. He's been hiding things since the day he moved here. Ramirez looked at me, clearly confused but not yet suspicious. Kept my hands open and visible. Then Karen shouted something I did not expect. He's not even who he says he is. I tilted, my head slightly. Who do you think I am? Her eyes darted everywhere. Windows. Cops. Neighbors, and then landed on me with a trembling certainty that made the hair rise on the back of my neck. You're an intruder, she whispered. You're a squatter. You don't belong on this street. You're not approved. Ramirez began stepping between us, but Karen raised her voice, screaming at the top of her lungs. He stole that car, and that was the moment. The whole block seemed to freeze. Every officer turned. The neighbors went silent. Even the dog across the street stopped barking. I looked at Karen carefully. Deliberately, that I said softly is a serious accusation. It's true, Karen, Ramirez warned. You understand that filing a false report? It's not false, she shrieked. He switched vehicles. He swapped license plates. He does this all the time. Her voice twisted into something wild. He's been dangerous since the last incident. You remember that? You remember? Ramirez hesitated. Last incident? He repeated. There it was. The opening. The moment I'd been waiting for. But before I could speak, before I could explain what she called the last incident, a sudden metallic clatter broke the tension. Karen had dropped the key. It hit the pavement. She stared at it like it betrayed her. Then she lunged for it. 2 officers moved at once. Ma'am, stop. But she grabbed it, clutching it to her chest like a lifeline. No one is taking this from me. Ramirez reached out. Karen, you need to calm down. She backed up fast, too fast. Her heel hit the curb. Her balance snapped. She stumbled, and the key flew from her hand. Skidding under my car, Karen froze. Then she stared at me with something new. In her eyes, not rage, not superiority, fear. Ramirez stepped carefully. Ma'am, just step back. But Karen whispered, he planned this. I blinked. I planned gravity. You planned this. She screamed. He's sabotaging HOA authority. He's undermining me. He's been doing it since before he moved here. Before? I asked quietly. She flinched. Ramirez's radio crackled again. Be advised, responding units. This may tie into the November incident. Use caution. Karen sucked in a breath so sharp it whistled. That's not related, she whispered. That wasn't me. No one had said it was her. No one except her. A cold stillness settled around us, a moment thick. Enough to grab with both hands. Ramirez frowned slowly. Karen, why would it be you? She froze. I studied her carefully. How would you know the details of the November incident? Her lips parted. No sound came out, Karen.
Karen, nothing? Karen, what exactly do you think I did last time?
She shook her head violently, hair whipping across her face. I didn't. Wasn't there's no evidence? No proof, no cameras, no one saw me? No one said anything for a full second? Then another neighbor whispered from their porch, Karen. What did you do? Karen snapped. I didn't do anything, she roared. And you can't prove. The third cruiser door slammed. Officer Daniels approached, jaw tight. Ramirez, he said quietly. Dispatch says this address is flagged. Reports from multiple neighbors about unauthorized entry attempts. Same description, same key type, same time frame. Karen's face drained completely, then flushed, then drained again. Ramirez took a slow breath. Ma'am, he said gently, I need you to step away from the vehicle. Karen clenched her fists. I'm the HOA president, she whispered. voice shaking so badly she could barely speak the words. "You can't order me. You don't outrank me." Ramirez stared at her.
Long.
"Slow, ma'am," he said carefully. "Please step away." Karen's lip trembled. I outrank everyone here." "Karen," she pointed at me one last time, desperation clawing at her voice, like she was trying to cling to reality itself. "He's lying about who he is. He's lying about everything. He's not a resident. He's not a neighbor. He's not even supposed to be here." She looked straight into my eyes. "Tell them who you really are." And I almost did. I almost said it right there. I almost ended it. But I didn't, because they weren't ready to hear it yet. Not until everything lined up. Not until Karen said the last piece she didn't know she was carrying. Ramirez stepped. "Closer, sir," he said. "I need your ID." Karen grinned like she'd already won, but I didn't reach for my wallet. Instead, I said, "Before I show you anything, you should hear what she did 3 months ago." The air went still. Every officer turned toward me. Karen's smile crumbled into dust. What are you doing?" she whispered. "Continuing where you left off," I said calmly. "I didn't." "Leave anything off?" But her voice wavered. She felt it. "The shift. Officer Ramirez." I said, "You remember the vandalism call in September? The one no one solved?" Karen's breath hitched audibly. Ramirez's eyebrows knit together. "Yes." I nodded slowly. "Good, because this all started that night." Karen stepped back. "No," she whispered, trembling.
No.
"Don't you dare! Don't you dare!" The officer stared at her. Ramirez asked the question she feared most. "Karen, what happened in September?" She shook her head so hard her hair whipped across her face. "I'm not talking about that." "So you do know what I'm referring to?" I said. No, I wasn't even her voice collapsed under its own weight. Ramirez's hand hovered near his cuffs. Keene's hand hovered near her. Radio every neighbor leaned forward. Karen's breathing quickened, chest rising and falling like she couldn't get enough air. Then I stepped 1 inch closer. Eyes locked with hers. "Karen," I said quietly, "if you really want the officers to remove me, they should know exactly who I am. And why you tried to open my car today." She shook her head violently. "Stop talking. You wanted to confirm something, didn't you? Stop. You thought you'd find something inside the car. No, you thought it was the same car as September." Her face went white. The officers froze. Then I said the sentence that made her entire. Facade cracked straight down the middle. "You tried this before, and you know what you found last time?" Karen let out a tiny, broken sound. A sound like a truth slipping through her teeth. "Please, don't," she whispered. But it was too late. Ramirez squared his shoulders. "Sir," he said, "you need to tell us exactly what happened in September." I looked at him, then at Karen, then back at him, and I said, "I'll tell you, but not until she answers one question first." Ramirez nodded slowly. "What question?" I pointed at Karen. "Why," I asked softly, "did you have a universal lockpick in the first place?" Karen stumbled backward. She opened her mouth. The officer's question about the universal lockpick barely leaves his mouth before something inside me snaps loose. It's dragging me backward in memory. It's strange how the mind works, how one moment in the present can rip open a door you thought you'd sealed shut, because months before this night, everything had already started. 3 months earlier, I rolled into this quiet little cul-de-sac with a moving truck full of boxes and a tired hope for peace. The neighborhood looked perfect sunlight on freshly cut lawns. Pine trees along the ridge, a view so calm it felt like the world itself was exhaling. I wasn't sheriff then. I wasn't planning to be anyone's authority. I wanted silence. I wanted to forget years of dealing with broken people and broken situations. I wanted a home where nobody looked at me like they expected something. But the first person waiting for me wasn't a neighbor with cookies. It was her, Karen Tilmason, marched toward me like she owned the street, the houses, the hills behind us, maybe even the sky. She carried a clipboard like it was a scepter, and she had that smile, tight, artificial, like she'd rehearsed it too many times. "Welcome to Willow Creek," she said, offering a hand stiff enough to cut glass. I'm the HOA president. Didn't ask my name. She announced she already knew it. And then she launched into rules before I could unstrap a single box from the truck. Trash bins hidden. Driveway parking forbidden. Holiday decor regulated by committee approval. And my favorite landscaping plans had to be submitted for community alignment. I thought she was just overly enthusiastic. A little intense, maybe. Odd. I'd seen worse personalities. I brushed her off politely and kept moving boxes, telling myself she was harmless. I was so wrong. The first week brought little hints. Notes taped to my door with polite-looking smiles drawn next to passive-aggressive messages. Your trash bin is visible. Your mailbox height is not within standards. The moving truck disrupted the community aesthetic, each one folded with obsessive neatness, placed exactly at eye level. It became a routine. Leave the house, find a note. Come home, find a note. Like having my own personal paper-based stalker, I ignored them until the tire eye came home one Thursday and saw the /1 perfect clean cut across the sidewall. Professional, deliberate, and then I saw the metal glint beside the driveway. A key, not a house key, not a car key. A universal master key, the kind used for maintenance access in large buildings. I remember holding it in my hand, feeling the weight of it, feeling something coil tight in my stomach. Police work teaches you to trust that coil. It's the whisper that says, this wasn't random. Someone is watching you. I pocketed the key. Didn't tell the precinct. Didn't even tell a friend. Just changed all the locks and tried to forget about it. 5 days later, forgetting became impossible. My phone buzzed with motion alerts after midnight. It's one alert after another, too quickly, too close together. I pulled the footage up and felt a cold spike run straight down my spine. 3 figures dressed in black moved along the side of my house with slow, practiced formation. Not drunk teens, not casual vandals. These people had purpose. One carried a flashlight like he'd held one in tactical positions before, another had a crowbar. The third moved like he was used to breaking and entering, but it was the fourth figure, barely visible at the far end of the frame. Made my blood run colder than anything else. Karen standing on the street, watching, not scared, not hiding. Watching, she checked her watch as one of the masked men approached my back door. He pulled out a Keitha, same triangular head, the same metallic shine as the one I found by my tire. He slid it into my lock, tried turning it, and when nothing happened, he jerked it with frustration. He tried again. And again, I had changed. The locks. They didn't know that. I watched from the shadows inside my own living room, crouched down, phone in one hand, sidearm in the other. My heart stayed steady. Months of training force it to stay that way. But rage simmered under the calm surface. It's a slow heat building in my chest. The men argued quietly outside, confused why the key didn't work. Karen took a small, nervous step backward. That one step told me everything. She expected that key to open my home. She expected them to get inside. She was waiting for something. I started recording the footage. Every image. Every second she stood there supervising. Then I made a call not to 911, but directly to the precinct. A quiet call, a calm one. This is McAllister, I whispered, sending you live footage. I've got 3 masked suspects attempting entry and an additional party supervising from the street. She's my HOA president. There was silence. On the line? Then units are already on the way. I stayed behind the couch, watching the dots of flashlights move around my yard while police cars approached the neighborhood without lights or sirens. When officers finally appeared at the edge of my property, they moved like ghosts, quiet, fast, precise. Within minutes, the 3 masked men were on the ground, hands cuffed behind their backs, and Karen, thinking she held real authority here, sprinted down the street toward them like a mad referee. You can't arrest them. They're assisting in community enforcement. I have rights. I have authority. That was the first time she saw me step onto the porch. Her screech flatlined into silence. She froze. Her eyes widened just a fraction, but it was enough to betray everything. What? She said slowly. Are you doing awake? Wake! As if My sleep schedule mattered more than the 4 criminals she'd dragged to my home. I raised my phone, the recording still active. "Funny," I said. "I was going to ask you the same thing." She crumbled, not physically, internally. Watched something in her break. She tried to spin a story, something flimsy about a neighborhood watch gone wrong. Officers didn't buy a word of it. She wasn't arrested that night. Not enough evidence to tie her intent directly to the break-in, but it was the moment she slipped out of the role of obnoxious HOA president and into something else. A threat. Didn't let the moment go. From that night on, I documented everything. Every note she taped to my door. Every suspicious maintenance van she waved through the gates. Every scrape, scratch, or unexplained accident on my property. I built a file thick enough to snap a rubber band, so when she called, 911 today, claiming that I was stealing my own car, I already knew what this incident really was. It wasn't about the car. It wasn't about a master key. Karen was cornered. And people like her panic when cornered. The present hits me again like a spotlight. Police cars, flashing lights, officers trying to figure out why this middle-aged woman is shaking with a mix of arrogance and fear. One of the officers turns to me. "Sir," she says, "you're trespassing. That you're breaking into her neighbor's vehicle." Before Karen can jump in with more lies, I pull out my phone and open the folder I named months ago. Evidence, HOA president. The first officer leans in, eyebrows slowly rising as he watches the video. The one from the night of the attempted brickin' Karen on the street. The men at my patio. It's the key in their hands. Another officer sees it and mutters, "Is that her?" Karen's voice trembles. That's taken completely out of context. But it's already too late. An officer looks at her with a changed expression, no longer patient, no longer neutral. Suspicion creeps in, sharp and unrestrained. "Ma'am," he says quietly, "you need to explain why you were present during an apparent attempted burglary." Karen's lips part, her breath hitching like her throat is shrinking. She stammers, I wasn't sure misunderstanding. Why did you have a key, ma'am?" The officer presses. Her mouth opens again, but nothing comes. Out she knows. She sees it. It's all starting to collapse. And then the officer's radio crackles. A voice comes through. His expression changes. He turns toward me, eyes widening with realization. "Sir, is this true? Are you?" I don't answer, not yet. And in the second of silence that follows, Karen's knees wobble. Her face drains of color. World teeters right on the edge, and that's exactly where it ends. The officer's radio cracked again, louder this time, the static slicing through the cold air like a blade. He lifted it closer to his ear, listened, froze, and then slowly turned his head toward the man Karen had been shrieking about for the last 15 minutes, but now there was something new in his eyes. Recognition, respect, and just the faintest edge of fear, "Sir," he said quietly, almost apologetically. "Dispatch confirms your badge number. You're the county sheriff." Karen's scream ripped through the night. He's lying. The officer didn't even look at her. Not once. His eyes stayed locked on me, waiting for me to confirm what dispatch already told him. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Quiet was confirmation enough. Another officer stepped forward, his entire posture changing, shoulders squaring, tone leveling, stance steadying as if some invisible line had just been drawn between us and Karen, and she'd accidentally walked herself onto the wrong side. Karen stumbled backward, her breath sharp and ragged. No, he can't be. He can't. I would have been told HOA leadership always gets notified when law enforcement moves into the community. It's policy, it's protocol. It's not law, I finally said, voice calm, steady, cutting straight through her excuses. And it's not real authority. "Karen, you don't get classified briefings because you're the president of a homeowners association." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again like she couldn't decide whether to argue or choke. One of the officers stepped between us. "Ma'am, please stay where you are." Karen pointed at him with a trembling hand. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. I'm the governance authority of this entire neighborhood. And you're, ma'am?" he repeated firmly. That authority is purely civil. It has no jurisdiction here. She shook her head violently. No, this is a setup you forged. That badge, he's tricking you. He's dangerous. I've been warning the board about him ever since September. Why do you think he has cameras? Why do you think he keeps everything locked? Why do you think the real question, I said softly, is why you had a universal entry key? Her voice cracked. Why didn't Teets not you don't? Understand, I understand perfectly. Something in her collapse, not physically, not yet, but mentally. Like her mind hit a wall she had been sprinting toward for months. The officer approached her slowly, cautiously. Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. We're trying to sort out the situation. But right now it seems your 911 call was misleading at best, and intentionally false at worst. Karen let out a high, breathless laugh. Misleading? You think I'm misleading? I called because he was breaking into a vehicle. It's my vehicle, I said. With registration in my name, insurance in my name, and a dash cam that recorded you tugging on the handle. You tried to open my door, Karen. Her face hardened, because I thought you stole it. The officer blinked. Why would he steal? His own car? He's manipulative. He's hiding things. He's dangerous. Dangerous, I repeated, stepping closer. Because I didn't bow to your rules? Her eyes flicked to me, full of a wild fury that looked more like fear wearing a cheap mask. You're not supposed to be here, she whispered. People like you, ruined communities. What kind of people, I asked. Law enforcement? Homeowners? Or people with boundaries you can't bulldoze? Her jaw tightened. She had no answer. No comeback. No place left to run. So I continued. You want to know why I came here? I bought a house in the middle of a nowhere neighborhood, where the biggest excitement is bingo night at the clubhouse. Officers behind me stayed quiet. Not one of them interrupted. Kieran didn't blink. Even the air seemed to hold still. I moved here to disappear, I said, because the job took everything from me, because I buried more than one friend in. The last few years, because I needed one place, just one where I could breathe without hearing another mother screaming in a hallway. Without walking another family through a tragedy they didn't deserve. Without watching another kid lose their innocence in a moment that could never be undone. My voice stayed steady to steady and suddenly the officers weren't just hearing the story, they were feeling it. I could see it in their faces. They'd all lived those nights too. Karen didn't soften. Karen didn't flinch. Karen didn't apologize. She scowled. You think your sadness excuses your known compliance? The silence after that sentence was the coldest moment of the night. One of the officers actually stopped breathing for half a second. Everything inside me quieted, went absolutely, perfectly still. Known compliance, I repeated, tasting the word like ash. It's breaking into my property, sabotaging my home, stalking me at night. Sending men with a universal key to my back door? That's your idea of compliance? She lifted her chin with a brittle pride. I enforce peace. You enforce control. I enforce the rules. Like you enforce fear. Her eye twitched. You don't understand, she said. This community is my responsibility. Everything that happens here is under my authority. My committee voted me in. They trust me. I keep order. I don't terrorize people. She lunged at that, physically stepped forward. Hand raised like she was about to jab a finger into my chest, but the nearest officer grabbed her wrist midair. Ma'am, said. Don't. Karen yanked her arm away. Get your hands off me. I am not under arrest. You can't arrest me. You have no proof of anything. I have hours of footage, I said. And you've been under investigation by the county board since October? Your treasurer came forward. Your vice president resigned. You've been forging approvals, pocketing fines, and threatening homeowners for years. Her face collapsed. You knew? For months. She shook her head slowly, like a malfunctioning machine trying to restart itself. No, you're wrong. You're lying. You're twisting things. You can't prove anything. She jabbed a finger toward the officer. Don't listen to him. He's manipulating you. He's the sheriff, the officer said. We can verify everything. Karen swallowed hard. Her breath came in fast little bursts. And then the spiral began. "You don't understand the full situation," she babbled. "You don't know what these neighbors are like. I've had to threaten some of them. And I only took money because the board was incompetent. I only changed locks because people can't be trusted. I only hired those men because everyone went still." She'd slipped, hired, repeated, her face drained. "I didn't mean," but she did. And she knew it. The officers moved in just a fraction closer. "Ma'am," the lead officer said carefully, "are you admitting to hiring individuals to enter this man's home?" Karen stuttered, backpedaled, choked on half-formed excuses. "No, I mean, not exactly, I didn't." "You're twisting Karen," I said. "Stop." She did. Maybe it was the tone. Maybe it was the authority. Or maybe for the first time she realized she wasn't the predator anymore. She was prey. The officer turned to me quietly. "Sir, based on the footage, the call, and her statements, we have enough to detain her for questioning." "Do you want to press?" But before he could finish, Karen's face changed. It shifted from panic to calculation, from fear to something colder, something triumphant. "No," she whispered. "No, you don't have enough. You have nothing, because everything you think you've collected, all your little files and videos and evidence." Her lips twisted into a razor-thin smile. "It's gone." I stared at her. She smiled wider. "I deleted the HOA server tonight. Every complaint, every record, every message, every financial log, every approval form, every violation, every report tied to your address, every camera feed from community-owned posts, every file that could have linked me to anything." Silence. She wasn't shaking anymore. She wasn't crying. She wasn't afraid. She looked victorious. "You can't touch me without proof," she whispered. "And now, you don't have any." The officers exchanged looks, certain ones. Karen's smile sharpened. "See," she hissed, "you thought you won. But you have no idea how deep my authority goes." And then she leaned forward, eyes glinting with twisted satisfaction, and delivered the final blow. "You're the sheriff. I control the evidence." For a moment, nobody said anything. Karen stood there smiling like she'd just detonated a bomb and was enjoying the bloom of smoke. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Even the one who had been ready to cuff her looked uncertain now. She could sense it too. Her confidence grew, her chin lifted, her breath steadied. "That's right," she said, savoring every syllable. "The entire HOA server has been wiped. Every complaint, every file, every video, gone." She pointed at me like she was presenting evidence to a jury. "So unless you have magical backup powers, Sheriff, you've got nothing." I could feel the weight of the officer's hesitation. Not fear, just the bureaucratic pause that comes when something important might have just vanished. They didn't know the truth yet. They didn't know what this woman was capable of. They didn't know what I was capable of either. Karen turned to the lead officer and held out her hands, triumphant. "Now, I'll forgive this misunderstanding if you escort this trespasser off my property and make sure he learns who actually runs this neighborhood." She expected sympathy, respect, obedience. She expected the world to bend. I almost felt sorry for her because she hadn't realized yet that the silence wasn't uncertainty. On my part, it was restraint. I took a slow breath and stepped closer. "Karen," she flinched at how calm my voice was. "You think deleting a server protects you?" Her smile wavered, but stayed in place, like a mask glued on too tightly. "You're bluffing," she said. "The HOA computer room is sealed. I have access. It's impossible. You got the files before tonight. That's the thing," I said softly. "I didn't need access to the computer room." The officers watched, waiting. "I got access to you," she blinked. "What?" "You talk too much." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small black device. Her face changed instantly. She recognized it. She'd seen me plant it the day she called that fake meeting in September. She just didn't know what it was. This little tool has a habit of syncing with any unsecured network within 50 feet. I held it up. "Your office Wi-Fi?" Wide open, your laptop password, 4-digit birth date, your storage folders, untouched. Her lips parted in disbelief. You backed up the servers, she whispered. No, Karen, I said. I backed up everything. The officers leaned in as I handed the device to the senior deputy. He scrolled, eyes widening more and more. Sir, this is the entire HOA database. And more, I said. Financial transfers, emails, threats sent under anonymous accounts, minutes from meetings that never happened, videos from her so-called security patrol. Kieran's face collapsed. The deputy swallowed once and handed the device to his partner, who stared like he'd just been handed a bomb with a countdown. It's all here, he said. All of it. Karen shook her head. Violently. No. This isn't possible. You're lying. You're lying. If I were lying, I said, you wouldn't be trembling. I'm not trembling, she snapped, but her whole body shuddered. You deleted the servers? I said, stepping closer. But the deletion logs include your admin login, and the timestamp, and the device signature. Her breath hitched. That's felony destruction of records during an investigation. She stumbled backward as if the words physically shoved her. You set your own trap, I added, and you walked right into it. Her voice cracked. No, you can't. I command this HOA. I run this neighborhood. Decide what rules are? You don't decide anything anymore, the deputy said quietly. He stepped behind her. This time, she didn't resist. She barely made a sound as he took her wrists. The metallic click of the cuffs echoed like justice settling into place. Her knees buckled. The officers held her steady while she tried to speak, tried to protest, tried to cling to whatever authority she believed she still had. The world had already shifted. Her power evaporated the moment she realized she couldn't talk her way out of this. For the first time since I moved in, she had nothing to say. They loaded her into the cruiser, her face pressed against the window, eyes darting around like she was trying to memorize the streets she'd ruled for years. Maybe she knew that when she came back, if she ever did, the place wouldn't belong to her anymore, because it never did. It belonged to the people she tormented, and those people were watching neighbors peeked out from porches, windows, driveways. Some whispered, some cried quietly. A few simply stood with their arms folded, nodding once when they met my eyes. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. 2 weeks later, the neighborhood felt different. Lighter. The kind of quiet that isn't tense, but peaceful. It's the kind of quiet that comes after a storm finally passes. The 4 sale signs that had littered the street gone. Some were pulled up and tossed by the trash bins. Others were repurposed into makeshift cornhole boards for a late afternoon barbecue at the coal-sack. Kids rode bikes again. Parents walked dogs at dusk without looking over their shoulders. Mailboxes were repaired, fences repainted, the community garden replanted. People talked to each other again, laughed again, and me. I sat on my porch with a mug of coffee and watched the sunset paint the houses gold. That soft, warm gold that makes everything look hopeful. I hadn't felt that in a long time. I came here to escape the noise of the world, to find a patch of land where I could breathe. Karen tried to take that from me, just like she'd taken so much from everyone else. But peace isn't something someone hands you. Peace is something you stand up for when someone tries to steal it, and when bullies fall, they fall hard. I took another slow sip and let the quiet settle into my bones. If you've made it this far, if you're here with me at the end of this story, then hear this. Stand your ground. Protect your home. Defend your peace. And if you believe in taking down bullies, subscribe, because I've got more stories to tell, and you won't want to miss what comes next.